Hello, it's Mrs. Porter. I'm reading This Is Not a Drill. We are on chapter 3, Emery, and it's beginning on page 25. If you put that away, Mr. Stutz, I promise you, Mrs. Campbell said soothingly, we'll meet with the principal to get to the bottom of whatever problems you're having with the school. I noticed she doesn't say the word gun. I can see Jake's fist clench, and I'm praying he doesn't try to rush this guy. I talked with that lady in the office yesterday. I know what my wife's told them. You know darn well there's not going to be any meeting. Mr. Stutz, please, the children. I realize she's warning him about his language. A man holding a gun, and I almost laughed. There's nothing to talk about. I'm taking my kid. He moves towards Patrick, lowering the gun a little, but Mrs. Campbell steps in between them. Rose's chair makes a sudden scraping sound as she scoots closer to Patrick, her dark eyes sullen. Patrick looks up at her gratefully, picks up Lammy, and tucks the floppy animal under his arm. Lady, you better get out of the way. Struts growls at Mrs. Campbell. He aims the gun back at her. I feel a twinge of guilt that I'm happy that it's not aimed at me anymore. She doesn't look at it, but I can't look at anything else. These children are my responsibility, Mrs. Campbell lowers her voice. It's what she does when she wants to get the kids' attention. If it's something really important, she speaks almost in a whisper, and everyone in the room stops to listen. The screamer who teaches across the hall could take a lesson. I'm not letting any of them leave the room without authorization from the office, she says, and I'm certainly not letting them leave with someone who is armed. I glance towards the open door, hoping someone will walk past and see the man with a gun standing in the middle of the neatly stacked red plastic boxes of math toys. The brush your teeth posters, the alphabet letters penciled on big chief paper. I look around at the kids and wonder if they can hear my heart hammering. Sweet babies, they look so confused. I wish I could cover their eyes like moms do during scary parts of movies. Simon watches the gun through his big, thick glasses with eyes that miss nothing. Alicia moves closer to tiny, apple-cheeked Kimberly with her springy dark curls. Juanita pulls at her top lip beneath the self-inflicted haircut that left her bangs uneven. Patrick hunches his shoulders and rocks back and forth, and Kenji, on Patrick's other side, whispers something to him. Lewis pulls the neck of his shirt up over his nose so that his eyes peek out like a turtle head. The first week we were here was like a South Park episode. Natalie threw up. Mason Manfield III got sent to the office for stabbing Tyler with a pencil. Carlos had a nosebleed that left a trail on the floor to the bathroom, and it took 3 days to track down a bad smell that turned out to be a rotten banana. Kenji left in a bag tucked in his suitcase. Oh, and Daquan stepped on Mr. Worley when he got out of his cage. Fortunately, he survived. And when Simon saw Natalie throw up, he threw up too. Mason Mayfield III is the original high-maintenance kid, all the way down to his name, which seems to require all its parts whenever you speak of him. Hey, do you know my cousin Mark Mayfield? He asked us the first day, waving his hand like a maniac. He goes to Hensonville High too. He's the quarterback. He said it like he was saying he's the Pope. I heard Jake refer to Mark Mayfield as one of the biggest jerks around, but I was pretty sure he would know this was not the time to bring that up. I do know Mark. I can see the resemblance, Jake answered, winking at me. Wicked, cute wink, my heart said. Wicked, bad boy, my brain reminded me. I was not about to get blindsided by Jake Willoughby's charm again. It's taken me months to get that wink, that killer smile, that deep teasing voice out of my head. These kids make me more sure than ever that I want to teach. They're so incredibly cute with their big round eyes and wide baby foreheads and turned up noses. We learned in biology that infants are born that way to bring out the protective instincts of adults. Baby animals have the same kind of features on their furry kitten and bunny faces, so you don't turn them down when they need food or affection. The kids treated us like rock stars from the minute we arrived, asking a million questions about our pets, siblings, and favorite TV shows, listening wide-eyed to everything we said. Rose especially followed Jake around, smiling up at him, like he'd just finished hanging the moon. Is that you? I asked, peering over his shoulder at the drawing she handed him on our way one day that first week. It was a picture of a tall, dark haired stick boy with bright blue eyes. There were hearts coming out of the boys' heads. Someone has a crush, I said, laughing. Rose, she's really cute. You remember her name? I'm impressed. It came out snarkier than I meant it. I had actually been making an attempt to get along since we were stuck with each other 3 times a week for an entire semester. I mean, I needed to show him I'm really over him. And I was. I am. I'm actually pretty decent with names, Jake said. Must be the polite or the political gene. Ah, the mayor's son works the crowd, I said. How is the city's chief executive? Great. You know how he loves life in the fishbowl. It's not without its perks, you have to admit. Pretty darn few, he frowned. In exchange for a few free tickets to stuff now and then, I'm under constant inspection by every soccer mom and little old lady with a vote to cast, like an ant in a magnifying glass, always getting burned. I shifted my backpack, heavy with extra books I'd brought to show the kids pictures of France. He reached out to take it. Jake Willoughby is very considerate when he wants to be. I'll give him that. He walked through the bright yellow elementary school hallway that smelled of old books, overcooked vegetables, dusty cabinets, and dirty socks. Sometimes I play a little game, Jake said. I do something I shouldn't just to see how long it will take to get back to my dad. And the record is 10 minutes, but the average is about 2 hours. I heard about the drug charge. I lowered my voice as we passed an older kid swinging a hall pass on an elastic cord. Who hasn't? It's not like you think, Emery. His eyes clouded. It wasn't my weed. It's really none of my business, I said with a shrug, and it wasn't. I mean, I cared what happened to him like I cared about any friend. Not that we were friends anymore, but you don't just turn your back on someone who were once important to you, even if they do turn out to be unworthy of your trust. He didn't elaborate, and I didn't ask. If it wasn't his, I knew he wouldn't rat out a friend, especially if the friend was Cole. I'm not a Cole fan. He's shallow and self-centered, and he turns everything into a big joke. I never understood why Jake is friends with him. I know it's stupid, Jake said. You don't have to say it. I wasn't going to. I was tempted to say it's not the first stupid thing he's done, but we'd reached the front of the building, so I held my hand out for my backpack. Look, Emery, I'm really sorry about what happened. Between us, I held up my hand to stop him. Over and done with. Not going there. So not going there. Jake saw my face and backed off. Hey, I just wanted to say thanks for putting up with me as a tutor partner. I know it's not what you wanted. He was making it hard to stay mad, smiling down at me with his charming country boy grin, set in a lean face bronzed from working in the sun. No big deal. It's not like I had a choice, I said. The kids are really into the lessons you put together. You're so great with them, he said. It was obvious Jake wanted to talk, and I was suddenly finding it hard to breathe. I gotta go, I said, moving toward my getaway vehicle. Sure, no problem. Hey, we could ride together tomorrow if you want. Maybe later, Jake. I walked toward my car quickly, taking shallow gasps of air to hold my insides together, knowing that something was about to fly apart. I drove away fast so he wouldn't see the gush of tears when the dam crumbled, blurring my vision and shaking my faith in myself. Strutz held the gun out in front of him, still aimed at Mrs. Campbell. Jake makes a small step toward him and Stutz yells, Everyone stay right where you are. Nobody moves till my kid and I are out of here. Jake freezes and looks calmly at Stutz. Either he's much braver than I am, or he's putting on a really good show for the kids. You're a bad, bad man, Mason Mayfield III suddenly yells at Stutz, stomping his foot. Stutz's face turns purple, and he takes a menacing step towards Mason. Mrs. Campbell moves to Mason's side at lightning speed. Mason, no. She grabs him by the shoulders. Hey, he's just a little kid, Jake said. He doesn't mean anything. He just talks a lot. Shut him up, Stutz shouts. That kid doesn't know anything about me, and neither do you. Mason Mayfield III crosses his arms in front of him and pouts as Mrs. Campbell talks quietly to him. He's obviously not getting it. All of you kids, keep your mouths shut and nobody gets hurt, Stutz shouts, glaring at the rest of them. Kimberly starts to cry, and I move to comfort her. Don't worry, sweetheart. It'll be okay, I whisper. I look back at the other kids. They sit at 18 small tabletop desks with tiny chairs. Mrs. Campbell usually groups them in pairs or fours. Patrick's head is ducked so low his nose almost touches the desk, and Kenji leans over to whisper to him, his almond eyes full of concern. Daquan is sucking his thumb. Alicia shakes her head slowly, and Lewis puts his hand inside his sleeve and flaps them nervously. Rose reaches up to tug a piece of her straight, dark hair, watching Jake through adoring eyes. Their faces are puzzled. How can they possibly understand what's happening? We make sure they use blunt scissors to cut things and stop them from running on the playground, but we have never prepared them for this. Even my mother's obsessive vigilance couldn't have kept these children safe if the simple act of going to school results in this. And I don't know how to help them. I'm 17 years old. I just want to teach little kids some French. I didn't sign on for dealing with a psycho. I'm praying God's turn on this channel right now. I'm praying God's tuned in on this channel right now. I don't ask for a lot. I figure he's busy. Right now, I'm hoping I've saved up enough good girl points to trade for the big favor, because we're going to need all the help we can get if we're going to get out of this mess alive.